Sergeant Jerry Wright never expected to marry an alien princess. Yet here he was, standing before the Ithorian royal court, his human heart pounding as Princess Altair's proposal hung in the air like a plasma charge ready to detonate. The events leading to this moment had unfolded with the chaotic speed of a space battle. Just days ago, Jerry had been fighting for his life aboard the Ithorian royal flagship, separated from his unit as human forces clashed with the alien empire. The corridors of the massive vessel became a labyrinth of danger, filled with the acrid smell of fried circuitry and the distant sounds of combat. Jerry's training kicked in as he navigated the ship's layout, his pulse rifle at the ready. That's when he heard it, a desperate cry for help coming from behind a sealed door. His soldier's instincts warred with his sense of duty. Opening that door could be a trap, but leaving someone to die went against everything he stood for. With a deep breath, Jerry overrode the malfunctioning security system. The door slid open, revealing a sight that would change the course of interstellar relations forever. Princess Altair, heir to the Ithorian throne, stood trapped in her quarters as life support systems failed around her. Her iridescent scales shimmed with fear, 4 eyes blinking rapidly in the emergency lighting. Jerry didn't hesitate. He grabbed the princess's slender arm, ignoring the strange texture of her skin, and pulled her to safety just as the room's atmosphere vented into space. The rescue, while successful, sparked a diplomatic firestorm. Earth's government found itself accused of kidnapping, teetering on the brink of all-out war with the Ithorian Empire. In a desperate bid for peace, Earth agreed to return Princess Altair to her homeworld. But there was a catch. Jerry would accompany her as a cultural liaison, a term that barely disguised his role as both bodyguard and potential hostage. The journey to Ithoria Prime became an unexpected cultural exchange, with the princess peppering Jerry with questions about human customs, particularly the concept of marriage. Jerry's bachelor status fascinated the alien royal. He found himself explaining human courtship rituals, unaware of the impact his words were having on the impressionable princess. Despite their vast biological differences, her scaled skin and multiple eyes in stark contrast to his mammalian features, a connection formed. Upon reaching the glittering spires of the Ithorian royal palace, Jerry prepared himself for a tense diplomatic handover. What he wasn't prepared for was Princess Altair's public declaration of love and marriage proposal. The words echoed through the throne room, leaving both human and Ithorian delegations in stunned silence. Now, as Jerry stood frozen in place, he could see the political machinations already beginning. Earth's military leaders huddled in furious debate, while a faction of Ithorian nobles whispered amongst themselves, eyes gleaming with opportunity. This unexpected proposal had the potential to bridge their species or plunge them into conflict. Jerry met Princess Altair's eager gaze, her alien features now strangely familiar after their journey together. He knew his next words could shape the future of human-Ithorian relations. The fate of 2 species hung in the balance, all because a human soldier saved an alien princess, and she asked to marry him. Jerry's mind raced as he stood before the Ithorian royal court, the weight of Princess Altair's proposal pressing down on him. Before he could formulate a response, a commotion erupted among the Earth delegation. Raised voices and urgent whispers filled the air as military officials huddled together, their faces etched with concern. A stern-faced woman in a crisp uniform approached Jerry, her insignia identifying her as a high-ranking officer. "Sergeant Wright, I'm General Marcus Steele. We need to talk now." Jerry nodded, relief washing over him at the temporary reprieve. He turned to Princess Altair, whose 4 eyes blinked expectantly. "Your Highness, I need some time to consider your generous offer, if you'll excuse me." As Jerry followed General Steele to a secluded alcove, he could hear the rising murmur of the Ithorian court behind him. The general's voice was low and urgent. "Right, I don't know what kind of game you think you're playing, but this situation has become a diplomatic powder keg. You are to maintain your position as cultural liaison and nothing more. Is that clear?" "Yes, sir," Jerry replied, his throat dry. "But what about the princess's proposal?" General Steele's eyes narrowed. "Our diplomats will handle that mess. Your job is to stay put and not make things worse. We're walking a tightrope here, Sergeant. One wrong move could plunge us into full-scale war with the Ithorians. As Jerry absorbed the gravity of the situation, a commotion erupted in the throne room. King Zorn, a towering figure with iridescent scales that shimmered with awe-inspiring fury, thundered toward his daughter. "Altair, what is the meaning of this? Have you lost your senses?" Princess Altair stood tall, her chin raised defiantly. "Father, I have not. This union could be the key to lasting peace between our peoples. Why continue this senseless conflict when we have an opportunity for alliance?" The king's multiple eyes narrowed as he considered his daughter's words. The court fell silent, waiting with breathless expectation for his response. After what seemed like an eternity, King Zorn spoke. "Your proposal is unprecedented. It requires careful consideration." A sly smile spread across Altair's face. "Then consider it, Father, but do so fairly. I propose a series of trials to test Jerry's worthiness as a potential consort. If he proves himself, you must give your blessing to our union." King Zorn's scales rippled with displeasure, but he nodded slowly. "3 trials, then. If your human can pass them, I will entertain the possibility." As word of the king's decision spread, Jerry found himself at the center of a whirlwind of activity. Earth's diplomatic team arrived, led by Ambassador Elena Reyes, a sharp-eyed woman with a no-nonsense demeanor. She wasted no time in pulling Jerry aside for a briefing. "Sergeant, we've uncovered some troubling information," Reyes said, her voice barely above a whisper. "There's evidence of a secret Ithorian weapons program designed to neutralize our tech advantages. We're using this as leverage in our negotiations, but it's made our presence here precarious." Jerry's mind reeled at the implications. "What does this mean for the trials, ma'am?" "It means you need to be on high alert," Reyes replied. "There are factions here who would love to see you fail. Watch your back." The ambassador's warning proved prescient. As Jerry prepared for the first trial, he could feel the weight of countless eyes upon him, some curious, others hostile. The Ithorian arena was a vast amphitheater, its alien architecture a blend of organic curves and crystalline structures that caught the light of Ithoria Prime's twin suns. Jerry's opponent, General Kraz, was a behemoth of rippling muscle and gleaming scales. The Ithorian warrior towered over Jerry, his 4 arms each ending in wickedly sharp claws. As they circled each other in the arena, Jerry's mind raced, searching for any advantage. The fight began with explosive fury. Kraz's multiple limbs became a blur of motion, forcing Jerry to rely on his agility and quick reflexes. He ducked and weaved, narrowly avoiding strikes that left deep gouges in the arena floor. Jerry's human physiology, evolved for endurance rather than raw strength, became his greatest asset. As the fight wore on, Kraz's movements began to slow, his massive form requiring more energy to maneuver. Jerry seized his opportunity, using his smaller size to get inside the Ithorian's guard and execute a series of precise strikes to vulnerable points. With a thunderous crash, General Kraz fell to the arena floor. The crowd's stunned silence gave way to a mix of cheers and disbelieving murmurs. Jerry stood victorious, his chest heaving with exertion, as King Zorn grudgingly acknowledged his success. As Jerry left the arena, Princess Altair intercepted him in a secluded corridor. Her eyes shone with a mix of admiration and concern. "You fought well, Jerry, but the trials will only get harder from here. There are those who do not wish to see you succeed." Jerry nodded, still catching his breath. "I'm beginning to understand that, Your Highness. Any advice for the next trial?" Altair glanced around furtively before leaning in close. "The second trial will test more than just your physical prowess. It will challenge your ability to adapt to our world. Be prepared for anything." As they spoke, neither was aware of the shadowy figure observing them from a hidden alcove. Lord Vex, his scales a muted gray that seemed to absorb light, smiled coldly as he activated a concealed communication device. "Proceed with the plan," he hissed. "When the human enters the arena for the second trial, he will face an environment no off-worlder could possibly survive." In the depths of the royal palace, technicians loyal to Lord Vex's faction worked feverishly to alter the environmental controls of the trial arena. They inputted commands to create a toxic atmosphere, extreme temperature fluctuations, and gravity wells that would push Jerry's human physiology to its breaking point. As the sun set on Ethoria Prime, casting long shadows across the alien landscape, Jerry retreated to his quarters to rest and prepare for the challenges that lay ahead. The weight of two worlds rested on his shoulders, his every action under intense scrutiny. As he closed his eyes, Jerry couldn't shake the feeling that the true test was yet to come, unaware of the sabotage and danger that awaited him in the arena. As dawn broke over Ethoria Prime, Jerry steeled himself for the second trial. The arena loomed before him, its crystalline spires glinting in the early morning light. He took a deep breath, the weight of two worlds resting on his shoulders as he stepped through the entrance. The moment Jerry crossed the threshold, he knew something was wrong. The air shimmered with an unnatural haze, and his skin prickled with an unseen electricity. Suddenly, the temperature plummeted, frost forming on his eyelashes. In the next instant, sweltering heat engulfed him, sweat beading on his forehead. "What the hell?" Jerry muttered, his military training kicking in as he assessed the situation. The arena's terrain shifted before his eyes, toxic gas pockets bubbling up from cracks in the ground. His suit's sensors blared warnings of atmospheric contamination. Acting quickly, Jerry activated his emergency air supply. The thin membrane of his suit's collar expanded, forming a protective bubble around his head. But Jerry knew the limited oxygen wouldn't last long in this hostile environment. Scanning his surroundings, Jerry spotted debris scattered throughout the arena, remnants of Ethorian technology and natural formations. An idea formed in his mind. He grabbed a porous rock and a fragment of what looked like a filtration unit. Working swiftly, he fashioned a crude but effective air purifier. "Adaptive thinking, Sergeant," he reminded himself, securing the makeshift device to his suit. From her position in the royal box, Princess Altair leaned forward, her four eyes wide with concern. "Father, something's not right," she insisted, turning to King Zorn. "The environmental controls are malfunctioning." The king's scales rippled with unease, but he remained stoic. "The human must prove his worth, regardless of the challenge," he declared, though doubt crept into his voice. In the arena below, Jerry navigated the treacherous landscape. Holographic projections flickered to life, displaying complex Ethorian symbols and mathematical equations. Jerry realized these puzzles controlled safe zones within the arena, areas free from the environmental hazards. Drawing on his training in alien linguistics and the knowledge gained during his journey with Princess Altair, Jerry deciphered the first puzzle. A shimmering force field materialized, creating a pocket of breathable air. Jerry gasped in relief, using the moment to recalibrate his makeshift filter. As Jerry progressed, solving puzzle after puzzle, the Ethorian spectators murmured in growing admiration. Even the most skeptical observers couldn't deny the human's resourcefulness and quick thinking. Meanwhile, in the depths of the arena's control room, Major Sarah Cox worked feverishly. Her fingers flew across alien interfaces as she fought to stabilize the environment. "Hang in there, right?" she muttered, rerouting power to counteract the sabotage. Unaware of the aid he was receiving, Jerry pressed on. The challenges grew increasingly difficult, testing not just his problem-solving skills, but his physical endurance as well. He navigated gravity wells that threatened to crush him, leapt across chasms of swirling toxic gases, and endured rapid-fire temperature changes that pushed his body to its limits. As Jerry neared the final section of the trial, a low growl echoed through the arena. The crowd fell silent. From the shadows emerged a massive creature, its 6 limbs rippling with corded muscle. Its hide shifted and changed, blending seamlessly with the environment. "By the celestial moons," Princess Altair gasped, rising to her feet. "Father, this wasn't part of the trial." King Zorn's eyes narrowed, a mix of suspicion and intrigue crossing his alien features. "Perhaps not," he mused, "but it will certainly test the human's true mettle." In the arena, Jerry's heart raced as he assessed this new threat. The beast's adaptive camouflage made it nearly impossible to track. He could hear it stalking him, feel the vibrations of its massive form through the ground. Jerry's mind raced. He needed to use the environment to his advantage. Spotting a pocket of toxic gas nearby, he formulated a plan. Jerry solved another puzzle, activating a safe zone near the gas. As the creature charged, he dove through the force field, using it as a barrier. The beast, unable to stop its momentum, plunged into the toxic cloud. It roared in pain and confusion, its camouflage faltering as it thrashed about. Jerry seized the opportunity. He raced to the next puzzle, solving it with lightning speed. The arena's temperature control systems activated, sending a blast of frigid air towards the disoriented predator. The rapid change in temperature further disoriented the creature, its movements becoming sluggish. The Ithorian spectators were on their feet now, their earlier skepticism replaced by awe at the human's ingenuity. Military observers exchanged impressed glances, reassessing their views on human combat capabilities. With the creature weakened, Jerry made his final move. He lured it towards the last puzzle station, a complex array of force field generators. As the beast lunged, Jerry input the final sequence. Energy fields sprang to life, trapping the predator in a containment bubble. A moment of stunned silence fell over the arena, broken by a thunderous roar of applause. Jerry stood, chest heaving, as the realization of his victory sank in. In the royal box, Princess Altair beamed with pride. King Zorn nodded slowly, a grudging respect visible in his alien eyes. The celebration was short-lived, however. Major Cox burst into the royal box, datapad in hand. "Your Majesty," she addressed King Zorn, bowing hastily, "I have evidence of sabotage in the arena systems." As Cox presented her findings, carefully omitting any mention of Earth's prior knowledge, King Zorn's expression darkened. "Lord Vex," he growled, scales flashing with anger. "Bring him to me at once!" The revelation sent shockwaves through the Ithorian court. Supporters of Lord Vex argued for leniency, claiming their actions were in the Empire's best interest. Others called for severe punishment, seeing the sabotage as a betrayal of sacred traditions. Amidst the chaos, Ambassador Elena Reyes saw an opportunity. She approached King Zorn, her diplomatic training evident in every measured word. "Your Majesty, perhaps we can use this unfortunate incident as a catalyst for positive change. I propose a summit between our peoples to address our differences and forge a lasting peace." As debates raged and preparations for the summit began, Jerry found himself at the eye of a galactic storm. His actions in the arena had shifted the balance of power, opening new possibilities for human-Ithorian relations. But as he met Princess Altair's gaze across the crowded throne room, Jerry knew that the greatest challenges and opportunities still lay ahead. The throne room buzzed with activity as diplomats, military officials, and royal advisors debated the implications of the arena incident. Jerry found himself at the center of it all, still catching his breath from the grueling second trial. Ambassador Elena Reyes approached Jerry, her expression a mix of relief and concern. "Sergeant Wright, excellent work out there, but I'm afraid we're not out of the woods yet." Before Jerry could respond, a commotion near the entrance drew everyone's attention. Major Sarah Cox burst in, datapad in hand, her uniform disheveled from her frantic efforts in the control room. "Your Majesty," she addressed King Zorn, bowing hastily, "I have evidence of sabotage in the arena's systems." The room fell silent as Cox presented her findings, carefully omitting any mention of Earth's prior knowledge. King Zorn's expression darkened with each passing moment, his scales shifting to a deep, angry red. "Lord Vex," he growled, his voice low and dangerous, "bring him to me at once." The revelation sent shockwaves through the Ithorian court. Supporters of Lord Vex argued for leniency, claiming their actions were in the Empire's best interest. Others called for severe punishment, seeing the sabotage as a betrayal of sacred traditions. Amidst the chaos, Ambassador Reyes saw an opportunity. She approached King Zorn, her diplomatic training evident in every measured word. "Your Majesty, perhaps we can use this unfortunate incident as a catalyst for positive change. I propose a summit between our peoples to address our differences and forge a lasting peace." King Zorn considered her words, his 4 eyes narrowing in thought. After a moment, he nodded. "Very well, Ambassador, we will consider your proposal. But first, there is the matter of the third trial." A ripple of surprise passed through the crowd. Jerry stepped forward, his posture straight despite his exhaustion. "Your Majesty, I'm ready to face whatever challenge you set before me." The king's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Your eagerness is noted, Sergeant Wright. The third trial will test not your physical prowess, but your understanding of our ways. It will take place in the Hall of Ancestors, where you must navigate the complexities of Ithorian social rituals and political debates." As preparations for both the trial and the diplomatic summit began, tensions escalated on Earth and Ithoria. Unbeknownst to the Ithorians, General Marcus Steele's covert team successfully extracted data on the Ithorian weapons program, providing Earth with crucial leverage for the upcoming negotiations. The day of the third trial arrived with a sense of anticipation that extended far beyond the walls of the royal palace. As Jerry entered the Hall of Ancestors, he was struck by the gravity of the moment. The vast chamber was filled with holographic displays of Ithorian history, its walls adorned with intricate murals depicting key moments in their civilization's development. What Jerry didn't know was that the trial was being broadcast live across both Ithoria and Earth, turning it into a galactic spectacle. Millions of viewers on both planets watched as he began to navigate the complex series of Ithorian social rituals. Jerry's first challenge involved a traditional Ithorian greeting ceremony. He approached a group of elder Ithorians, their scales dulled with age but their eyes sharp with intelligence. Jerry bowed low, then raised his right hand, palm outward, while touching his left hand to his forehead. A gesture he had learned signified both respect and openness. "Honored elders," he said in carefully practiced Ithorian, the words feeling strange in his human mouth. "I come seeking wisdom and understanding." The elders exchanged impressed glances. One of them, his scales a pale blue, stepped forward. "You honor us with your words, human. Tell us, what do you know of the Great Schism?" Jerry's mind raced, recalling the historical briefings he'd received. He launched into a detailed account of the ancient Ithorian civil war, careful to present both sides of the conflict without judgment. As he spoke, he noted the approving nods from the elders and the murmurs of surprise from the watching crowd. The trial progressed, with Jerry facing increasingly complex scenarios. He mediated a mock trade dispute between rival Ithorian clans, demonstrating not only his knowledge of their economic systems, but also his ability to find compromise. In a debate on Ithorian environmental policy, he held his own against seasoned politicians, earning grudging respect even from those who disagreed with his positions. As Jerry progressed through the trial, public opinion began to shift in his favor. His performance impressed not only the Ithorian royal court, but also viewers on both planets, who saw it as a testament to human adaptability and respect for alien cultures. However, just as Jerry was nearing the end of the trial, chaos erupted in the Hall of Ancestors. A group of armed intruders burst in, their faces concealed behind masks designed to resemble human features. They shouted anti-Ithorian slogans in broken English, creating the impression of human extremists opposed to the interspecies marriage. Jerry's military training kicked in instantly. He quickly assessed the situation, noting the positions of the attackers and the locations of potential exits. Without hesitation, he called out to the Ithorian guards in their own language, coordinating a defense strategy. "Protect the royal family!" Jerry shouted, using his body to shield a group of Ithorian civilians as he guided them towards cover. He caught sight of King Zorn, exposed and vulnerable as the monarch tried to make sense of the sudden attack. Time seemed to slow as Jerry spotted a masked attacker taking aim at the king. With a burst of speed, Jerry launched himself towards King Zorn, tackling the Ithorian monarch just as a blade whistled through the air where he had been standing. They hit the ground hard, Jerry's human frame struggling under the weight of the Ithorian king. But there was no time to catch his breath. Jerry rolled to his feet, pulling King Zorn up with him. and quickly ushered the stunned monarch behind a pillar. "Stay here, Your Majesty," Jerry said, his voice firm but respectful. "I'll handle this." Before King Zorn could respond, Jerry was already moving, coordinating with the Ithorian guards to outflank the attackers. His quick thinking and decisive actions turned the tide of the battle. Within minutes, the would-be assassins were subdued. As the dust settled, Princess Altair emerged from where she had been protected by her guards. Her eyes blazed with a mix of anger and perseverance as she surveyed the scene. Without hesitation, she strode to the center of the hall, her voice ringing out clear and strong. "People of Ithoria, people of Earth," she began, aware that the cameras were still rolling, broadcasting her words to both worlds. "Today, we have witnessed both the worst and the best of what our two species can be. These attackers sought to divide us, to sow fear and hatred. But look at how we responded, humans and Ithorians working together to protect each other." Her gaze swept the room, meeting the eyes of humans and Ithorians alike. "This is the future we can build together, a future of cooperation, of mutual respect and understanding. The actions of Sergeant Jerry Wright today have shown us what is possible when we set aside our differences and work towards a common goal." As Altair spoke, Ambassador Elena Reyes saw her opportunity. She stepped forward, catching the princess's eye and receiving a subtle nod of acknowledgement. "Your Highness, Your Majesty," Reyes addressed both Altair and King Zorn, "in light of these events, I propose we begin our peace negotiations immediately. Earth is prepared to offer full transparency in our dealings, including our knowledge of certain sensitive matters." King Zorn's eyes narrowed at this, but Reyes pressed on. "However, we do not wish to use this information as leverage. Instead, we offer to collaborate on a joint defense initiative, to face common threats together." The Hall of Ancestors fell silent as King Zorn considered her words. Finally he spoke, his voice carrying the weight of history. "Ambassador Reyes, your proposal has merit. Sergeant Wright," he turned to Jerry, who stood at attention despite his fatigue, "you have demonstrated not only your physical prowess and quick thinking, but also a deep understanding and respect for our ways. I hereby declare the trials complete." A murmur of excitement rippled through the crowd, but King Zorn wasn't finished. "Furthermore, I give my approval for the marriage between Princess Altair and Sergeant Jerry Wright, on the condition that it serves as a cornerstone for a new era of human-Ithorian relations." The announcement sent shockwaves through the hall and beyond to the millions watching on both planets. Jerry and Altair exchanged a look of surprise and joy, tinged with the understanding of the enormous responsibility now resting on their shoulders. As preparations for both the Peace Summit and the royal wedding began, neither Jerry nor Altair were aware of the new threat brewing in the shadows. On Earth, General Marcus Steele received an urgent intelligence report. A group of human supremacists, vehemently opposed to any form of alien alliance, was planning to sabotage the wedding and assassinate both Jerry and Princess Altair. Steele's eyebrows furrowed as he read the report. He knew that the success of this wedding was crucial for the fragile peace between Earth and Ithoria. With a heavy sigh, he began to organize a covert operation. The fate of two worlds now hinged on his ability to protect this unlikely couple and ensure their union would usher in a new age of interstellar cooperation. Cooperation. The fate of two worlds now hinged on his ability to protect this unlikely couple and ensure their union would usher in a new age of interstellar peace. General Steele wasted no time. Within hours, he had assembled a joint human-Ithorian security team with Major Sarah Cox at the helm. The team's composition was a testament to the newfound spirit of cooperation between Earth and Ithoria, featuring elite soldiers from both species working side by side. As Cox briefed her team on the potential threats, Jerry found himself thrust into a whirlwind of royal preparations. The palace halls buzzed with activity as servants scurried about, arms laden with exotic fabrics and ornate decorations. Jerry stood in the center of it all, feeling decidedly out of place as a team of Ithorian tailors fussed over his measurements for his wedding attire. "No, no, no," chittered the head tailor, his mandibles clicking in frustration. The ceremonial sash must be draped just so, or it will be seen as a grave insult to the ancestors. Jerry sighed, his shoulders sagging under the weight of his new responsibilities. I'm sorry, he said, trying to keep the exhaustion from his voice. Can you show me again? As Jerry struggled with the intricacies of Ithorian royal protocol, Princess Altair watched from the doorway, her heart's aching for her betrothed. She approached quietly, placing a gentle hand on his arm. You're doing well, Jerry, she said softly, but I think perhaps you need a break from all this formality. Jerry's eyes lit up with gratitude. You have no idea how good that sounds. Altair's mandibles curved in what Jerry had come to recognize as a smile. I've arranged something I think you'll enjoy. How would you like to join a traditional Ithorian hunting ritual? The next day found Jerry deep in the lush Ithorian wilderness, accompanied by a group of noble hunters. The forest canopy towered above them, its leaves shimmering with an iridescent glow that bathed everything in a soft, alien light. As they moved silently through the underbrush, Jerry found himself relaxing for the first time in days. The weight of his responsibilities seemed to lift, replaced by the familiar focus of a soldier on a mission. Suddenly, a bone-chilling roar shattered the tranquility of the forest. One of the Ithorian nobles, his scales pale with fear, pointed towards a clearing ahead. By the ancestors, he gasped. It's a Craxus beast. It must have escaped from the wildlife preserve. The massive predator burst into view, all razor claws and gnashing teeth. The hunting party scattered, but Jerry's military training kicked in. He assessed the situation in seconds, noting the creature's movements and the positions of the Ithorian nobles. Everyone, form a circle, Jerry shouted, his voice cutting through the panic. Make noise. Make yourself big. We need to intimidate it. The nobles hesitated for a moment, then followed Jerry's lead. They formed a tight circle, raising their weapons and emitting high-pitched trills that resonated through the forest. The Craxus beast hesitated, confused by the sudden show of force. Seizing the moment, Jerry grabbed a nearby branch and lit it with the ignition pack from his hunting gear. He waved the makeshift torch at the creature, driving it back step by step until it finally turned and lumbered away into the depths of the forest. As the adrenaline faded, Jerry found himself surrounded by awestruck Ithorians. One of the nobles, his scales flushed with admiration, clasped Jerry's shoulder with a clawed hand. You have the heart of a true Ithorian warrior, he said solemnly. You will make a fine consort for our princess. Back on Earth, Ambassador Elena Reyes was fighting a different kind of battle. She stood before a panel of Earth's political leaders, her voice steady as she addressed their concerns. I understand your reservations about having a human in line for the Ithorian throne, she said, her gaze sweeping across the room. But I urge you to see the opportunities this union presents. To facilitate greater understanding between our species, I propose a series of cultural exchange programs. Reyes outlined her plan, describing initiatives that would bring Ithorian scholars to Earth universities and send human artists to study Ithorian aesthetics. As she spoke, she could see the skepticism in some eyes begin to fade, replaced by cautious interest. Meanwhile, in the depths of the Ithorian royal palace, King Zorn knelt before the ancient oracle, a being shrouded in mystery and revered for its wisdom. The oracle's form shifted and shimmered, never quite settling into a definite shape. Great oracle, Zorn intoned, his voice echoing in the cavernous chamber. I seek your guidance in these times of change. The oracle's voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The union you fear will bridge the gap between stars, it said, its words rippling through the air like water. Embrace the change, for it heralds a new dawn for your people. Zorn left the chamber with more questions than answers, but also with a growing sense that the coming changes were inevitable, and perhaps necessary. As the wedding day drew near, Jerry found himself in the royal gardens, the beauty of the alien flora lost on him as he grappled with his doubts. Princess Altair found him there, her approach silent on the soft grass. Jerry, she said softly, what troubles you? He turned to her, his eyes filled with uncertainty. Altair, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. Being a soldier, that I understand. But a prince? A ruler? I'm afraid I'll let everyone down. Altair took his hands in hers, her touch gentle despite her alien physiology. Jerry, there's something you should know. There's an ancient Ithorian prophecy that speaks of a foreign warrior who will usher in an era of unprecedented prosperity for our people. I believe that warrior is you. Jerry's eyes widened in surprise. Me? But how can you be sure? Altair's mandibles curved in a tender smile. Because I've seen your heart, Jerry, right? You may not have been born Ithorian, but you embody the best of what we aspire to be. Together, we can build a future that neither of our peoples could achieve alone. As Jerry absorbed her words, a commotion erupted in the distance. Alarms blared, and the sound of running feet echoed through the palace corridors. Major Cox burst into the garden, her face grim. "Sergeant Wright, Your Highness," she said, her voice tight with urgency. "We have a situation. A hardline faction of the Ithorian military has seized control of the orbital space station. They're demanding we call off the wedding, or they'll open fire on the palace." Jerry's military instincts kicked in immediately. "What are our options?" Cox outlined the situation quickly. "General Steele is splitting our forces. We need to maintain security here for the wedding, but we also need to retake that station." Jerry's mind raced, weighing the possibilities. In that moment, he realized that this was his chance to prove his commitment to his new home and people. He straightened his shoulders, decision made. "I'll lead the team to recapture the station," he said, his voice firm. Altair gasped. "Jerry, no, it's too dangerous." He turned to her, his expression softening. "Altair, this is something I have to do. For Ithoria. For us." As the preparations for the mission began, Jerry donned a suit of advanced combat armor, a seamless blend of human and Ithorian technology. The suit hummed with power, a physical representation of what their two species could achieve together. Standing at the entrance to the sleek stealth ship that would carry him to the occupied space station, Jerry took a deep breath. The fate of two worlds rested on his shoulders, the promise of a new era of interstellar cooperation hanging in the balance. As he stepped aboard, he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them not just as a soldier of Earth, but as a defender of Ithoria. Ithoria. As he stepped aboard, he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them not just as a soldier of Earth, but as a defender of both worlds. The sleek stealth ship glided silently through the inky blackness of space, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it invisible to the naked eye in most scanning systems. Inside, Jerry stood at the helm, his hands steady on the controls as he guided the vessel towards the occupied Ithorian space station. "Approaching target," he announced, his voice tight with focus. "Everyone, check your gear one last time." The elite team behind him, a mix of human and Ithorian special forces, ran through final equipment checks. The soft clicks and whirs of their advanced combat suits filled the cramped cabin. As they neared the station, an unexpected burst of weapons fire erupted from its surface. Jerry's reflexes kicked in, and he sent the ship into a series of evasive maneuvers. "Stealth systems compromised," shouted the Ithorian communications officer, his mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. "They seem to have technology that can detect us." Jerry's mind raced. This level of preparedness suggested more than just a hardline Ithorian faction. "It's the human supremacists," he realized aloud. "They've joined forces with the Ithorian rebels." Using the ship's superior agility, Jerry managed to evade the worst of the barrage. He spotted a blind spot in the station's defense grid, a docking port on the underside, partially obscured by a protruding sensor array. "Hold on, everyone," Jerry warned as he executed a daring roll, bringing the ship into perfect alignment with the hidden port. The docking clamps engaged with a satisfying thunk, and for a moment, all was still. "Nice flying, sir," breathed one of the human soldiers, his face pale beneath his helmet. Jerry nodded grimly. "The hard part's just beginning. Let's move." The team split into two groups, with Jerry leading the main assault force, while a smaller unit headed for the station's control center. They moved swiftly through the corridors, their footsteps muffled by the advanced materials of their suits. The first resistance they encountered came at a junction between two main passageways. A mixed group of human and Ithorian insurgents opened fire, their weapons leaving scorch marks on the metallic walls. Jerry's team responded with precision, their training evident in every movement. He watched with a mix of pride and amazement as human and Ithorian soldiers worked in perfect synchronization, covering each other's blind spots and utilizing their unique strengths. An Ithorian soldier named Kraz demonstrated incredible agility, using his 4 arms to wield multiple weapons simultaneously. He provided covering fire while Jerry and 2 human soldiers advanced, taking down the insurgents with well-placed shots. As they pushed deeper into the station, the artificial gravity began to fluctuate. Jerry found himself suddenly weightless, then slammed to the floor as gravity reasserted itself. "They're messing with the environmental controls," Jerry called out. "Be ready for anything." The team adapted quickly, using the unpredictable gravity to their advantage. During a zero-G moment, Jerry launched himself off a wall, sailing over a barricade to flank a group of entrenched enemies. Meanwhile, on Ithoria's surface, Princess Altair stood in the palace's command center, her royal finery at odds with the military personnel and equipment surrounding her. She stared intently at a holographic display showing the space station. "Any word from Jerry's team?" she asked, her voice steady despite her inner turmoil. General Steele shook his head. "Not yet, Your Highness, but no news is good news in an operation like this." Altair nodded, then turned to a group of Ithorian technicians. "What's the status of our communications array?" "We've almost broken through their jamming, Your Highness," replied the lead technician. "We should have a secure link established shortly." As if on cue, the holographic display flickered, and a grainy image of Jerry appeared. Altair's hearts leapt at the sight of him, but she maintained her composure. "Jerry, can you hear us?" she asked. "Loud and clear, Altair," came the reply, punctuated by the sound of distant weapons fire. "We've secured the main concourse, but we're meeting heavy resistance near the central hub." General Steele leaned in. "Sergeant, we're picking up some unusual energy readings from the station's reactor core. Can you investigate?" Jerry's expression grew grim. "Roger that. I'll take a team to check it out." As the communication ended, Altair turned to Steele. "General, I need you to coordinate with the palace security team. We can't rule out the possibility of infiltrators here on the surface." Steele nodded, impressed by the princess's tactical thinking. "I'll get right on it, Your Highness." Back on the station, Jerry led a small group towards the reactor core. The closer they got, the more his suit's sensors screamed warnings about rising radiation levels. They encountered a heavily fortified position outside the reactor control room. As they traded fire with the defenders, Jerry noticed something odd about the insurgents' tactics. "They're not trying to stop us," he realized. "They're buying time." With a surge of adrenaline, Jerry charged forward, his team providing covering fire. He smashed through the control room door to find a scene of chaos. The reactor core pulsed with an ominous red glow, its containment field flickering dangerously. A group of human supremacists worked feverishly at the controls, while their Ithorian allies held off Jerry's team. "Step away from the controls!" Jerry shouted, his weapon trained on the insurgents. The lead human turned, a fanatical gleam in his eyes. "You're too late. In minutes, this station will be nothing but debris, and your precious alliance will be in ruins." Jerry's mind raced. He could see the reactor's countdown on a nearby screen. Less than 5 minutes remained before catastrophic overload. "Kraz!" he called to his Ithorian teammate. "Can you make sense of these controls?" The 4-armed soldier rushed to the console, his eyes darting over the alien interface. "I can try to stabilize it, but I'll need time." "You heard him," Jerry said to the rest of the team. "Buy us that time." As Kraz worked frantically at the controls, Jerry and the others formed a defensive perimeter. The room erupted into a firefight, with Jerry using every trick he'd learned in his military career and his recent experiences on Ithoria. The minutes ticked by agonizingly slowly. Jerry watched the countdown, his heart pounding. With just seconds to spare, Kraz let out a triumphant trill. I've done it! The reactor is stabilizing! A collective sigh of relief swept through the room, quickly replaced by renewed focus as they moved to secure the insurgents. As Jerry slapped restraints on the human supremacist leader, he couldn't shake the feeling that this victory, while crucial, was just the beginning of a much larger conflict. The evidence they'd uncovered on the station pointed to deeper conspiracies, both on Earth and Ethoria. But for now, there was no time to dwell on future challenges. They had a wedding to get to, and a new era of cooperation to usher in. Jerry tapped his comm unit. Station secure. Prepare for extraction and return to Ethoria. As the team boarded their ship, Jerry allowed himself a small smile. Whatever came next, he knew he was ready to face it. Not just for Earth or Ethoria, but for the future they were building together. As Jerry's shuttle exited the station's docking bay, a violent tremor shook the vessel. Warning lights flashed across the control panel, and alarms blared throughout the cabin. "We've sustained damage to the propulsion system," the pilot announced, her voice tense. "We're losing altitude control." Jerry gripped the chairs of his seat, his mind racing. "Can we make it back to the surface?" The pilot's fingers danced across the controls. "Negative, sir. We're in an uncontrolled descent. Brace for impact." The shuttle plummeted through Ethoria's atmosphere, trailing smoke and debris. As the ground rushed up to meet them, Jerry closed his eyes, thinking of Altair and the future they'd fought so hard to secure. Suddenly, the shuttle's descent slowed. Jerry's eyes snapped open, and he looked out the viewport to see a shimmering field of energy enveloping the craft. The shuttle's wild spin stabilized, and its headlong plunge became a more controlled glide. "What's happening?" Jerry asked, unable to hide the awe in his voice. The Ethorian co-pilot trilled in excitement. "It's the Royal Atmospheric Stabilizers. They must have activated them to catch us." As they descended through the glowing energy field, Jerry marveled at the massive anti-gravity arrays scattered across the Ethorian capital. The shuttle continued to lose altitude, but at a much more manageable rate. "I can work with this," the pilot said, her confidence returning. "Hang on, everyone. This landing's still going to be rough." The shuttle skimmed over the tops of crystalline spires and bioorganic towers before the sprawling expanse of the royal palace came into view. With a series of expert maneuvers, the pilot guided the crippled craft towards the palace gardens. They hit the ground hard, the impact throwing Jerry against his restraints. The shuttle skidded across manicured lawns and flower beds, leaving a trail of torn vegetation and scorched earth in its wake. When they finally ground to a halt, an eerie silence fell over the cabin. Jerry unclipped his harness with shaking hands. "Everyone okay?" A chorus of pained but affirmative responses rang out. Jerry made his way to the emergency hatch and forced it open, allowing sunlight and fresh air to flood the cabin. As he emerged from the wreckage, Jerry found himself surrounded by a crowd of stunned Ethorians. Palace guards, gardeners, and curious onlookers stared at him with a mix of shock and admiration. He heard murmurs in the musical Ethorian language, punctuated by clicks and trills. Before he could fully take in his surroundings, a familiar voice cut through the crowd. "Jerry!" Princess Altair pushed her way through the throng, her ornate robes fluttering behind her. She threw herself into Jerry's arms, heedless of the dirt and soot that covered him. "You're alive!" she breathed, her mandibles quivering with emotion. "When we lost contact with the shuttle, I feared the worst." Jerry held her tight, feeling the tension of the past few hours begin to ebb away. "It'll take more than a little space station rebellion to keep me from our wedding day." As medical teams arrived to tend to Jerry and his crew, he became aware of the buzzing of hover cameras around them. Their reunion was being broadcast across both worlds, a powerful image of human resilience and Ethorian compassion. King Zorn appeared, flanked by his advisors and security detail. His regal bearing softened as he approached Jerry and Altair. "Sergeant Wright," he said, his tone warm despite the formality of his words. "Once again, you have proven yourself a true hero to both our peoples." Jerry straightened, wincing slightly at the movement. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only did what anyone would have done in my position." The king's compound eyes gleamed with amusement. I think you'll find that's not entirely true, my boy. He turned to address the gathered crowd. Let it be known that the wedding will proceed as planned. We will not allow those who seek to divide us to succeed. This union will be a symbol of our shared strength and resilience. A cheer went up from the assembled Ithorians, their trill voices creating a symphony of approval. Jerry felt a swell of emotion, realizing how far he'd come from the simple soldier who'd first set foot on this alien world. As medical personnel ushered Jerry towards a waiting hover ambulance, he caught sight of General Steele engaged in an intense conversation with several human and Ithorian officials. The general's face was grim, and Jerry knew that the aftermath of the station incident was just the beginning. Inside the palace's medical wing, Jerry found himself surrounded by a mix of human doctors and Ithorian healers. They worked in perfect harmony, their combined knowledge and techniques accelerating his treatment. "Remarkable," muttered one of the human doctors as he examined a holographic display of Jerry's vitals. "The Ithorian regenerative compounds are integrating perfectly with your physiology." An Ithorian healer nodded in agreement, her long fingers deftly applying a glowing gel to Jerry's bruises. "And your human cellular structure responds to our treatments even more effectively than we anticipated. The potential for medical advancement through our cooperation is truly exciting." As the medical team worked, Jerry's thoughts drifted to the challenges that still lay ahead. The attack on the station had been thwarted, but he knew it was just one part of a larger conspiracy. The evidence they'd uncovered pointed to a web of deceit that stretched across multiple worlds. His musings were interrupted by the arrival of Major Sarah Cox. She entered the medical bay with purposeful strides, her uniform slightly disheveled, but her bearing as professional as ever. "Sergeant," she said, coming to attention beside his bed, "I'm glad to see you in one piece. We've completed our sweep of the palace and apprehended the last of the known infiltrators." Jerry nodded, grateful for her efficiency. "What's the situation on Earth?" Cox's expression tightened. "General Steele has been in contact with Earth's Security Council. There have been a series of high-level arrests, including several military and government officials implicated in the plot against the Alliance." The news hit Jerry like a physical blow. He'd known there were forces on Earth opposed to the human-Ithorian alliance, but the extent of the conspiracy was staggering. "And what about here on Ithoria?" he asked. "We're implementing a new integrated security protocol," Cox replied. "It combines the best of human and Ithorian techniques. Your little adventure on the station has actually given us some valuable insights into how our forces can work together more effectively." As Cox continued her briefing, a team of Ithorian tailors entered the medical bay, their arms laden with shimmering fabrics and intricate pieces of armor. They approached Jerry's bed, bowing respectfully. "By order of King Zorn," one of them announced, "we are here to modify your wedding attire, Sergeant Wright. The king wishes to incorporate elements of your battle-damaged uniform into the design as a symbol of your bravery and the unbreakable bond between our peoples." Jerry watched in amazement as the tailors set to work, their multiple arms moving in a blur of activity. They seamlessly blended the tattered remains of his combat suit with the resplendent Ithorian royal garments, creating something entirely new and breathtaking. As the final preparations for the wedding kicked into high gear, Jerry could feel the energy of anticipation building throughout the palace. Despite the chaos of the past few hours, or perhaps because of it, the impending ceremony had taken on a significance that transcended mere political alliance. Through the window of the medical bay, Jerry could see crowds gathering in the streets of the Ithorian capital. Humans and Ithorians mingled freely, their shared excitement palpable even from a distance. Holographic displays showed similar scenes unfolding on Earth, with people of all nations coming together to celebrate this historic moment. Ambassador Elena Reyes entered the medical bay, her face flushed with triumph. "Jerry, you won't believe what's happened. The attack on the station and your heroic return have shifted public opinion dramatically. I've just finalized agreements with several neutral alien species to form a coalition supporting our alliance. The wedding will take place under the protection and blessing of a significant portion of the galactic community." Jerry absorbed this news, marveling at how quickly the political landscape had shifted. What had begun as a simple diplomatic mission had evolved into something that would reshape the future of multiple worlds. As the medical team cleared him for release, Jerry stood shakily, adjusting to the weight and feel of his modified wedding attire. He caught his reflection in a nearby monitor and barely recognized himself. The man staring back at him was neither fully human soldier nor Ithorian royal, but something new, a bridge between two worlds. With a deep breath, Jerry squared his shoulders and prepared to step into his new role. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with both promise and peril. But as he made his way towards the grand Ithorian cathedral, where Altair and their shared future awaited, Jerry knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them, not as a lone soldier, but as part of something far greater than himself. As Jerry approached the towering doors of the Ithorian cathedral, he felt the weight of history on his shoulders. The modified, battle-ready wedding attire, a seamless blend of human military precision and Ithorian elegance, moved with him like a second skin. The cathedral itself was a marvel of alien architecture, its soaring spires and organic curves defying Earth's conventional understanding of structural engineering. Bioluminescent vines wrapped around crystal pillars, pulsing with soft light that seemed to harmonize with the music of the gathered crowd. As Jerry took his place at the altar, he scanned the sea of faces before him. Humans and Ithorians sat side by side, their differences in appearance overshadowed by the shared excitement in their eyes. Ambassador Elena Reyes caught his gaze and gave him a reassuring nod, while General Steele stood at attention near the back, his stern expression softened by the hint of a proud smile. A hush fell over the cathedral as the music shifted. Jerry's breath caught in his throat as Princess Altair appeared at the entrance. Her bioluminescent skin pulsed with an ethereal glow, casting patterns of light that danced across the walls and ceiling. As she glided down the aisle, her multiple limbs moving with impossible grace, Jerry was struck anew by the beauty of her alien form. Altair took her place beside Jerry, her compound eyes reflecting the myriad of emotions swirling within. King Zorn stepped forward, his regal bearing commanding the attention of all present. Today, the king's voice resonated through the cathedral. We witnessed not just the union of two individuals, but the joining of two worlds. As the ceremony began, Jerry and Altair exchanged vows in their native tongues. Jerry's voice, steady and clear, spoke of love and commitment in English, while Altair's musical trills and clicks wove a tapestry of devotion in the Ithorian language. Holographic displays throughout the cathedral and across the galaxy provided real-time translations, allowing billions of viewers to share in this historic moment. I, Jerry Wright, he began, his words carrying the weight of two worlds. Take you, Altair, to be my wife. I promise to stand by your side, to learn from your wisdom, and to bridge the gap between our peoples with every breath I take. Altair's response came in a symphony of alien sounds, her bioluminescence pulsing in time with her words. The translation echoed in Jerry's ear. I, Altair, daughter of Ithoria, bind myself to you, Jerry Wright of Earth. May our union be a beacon of hope, guiding our species towards a shared future among the stars. As they reached for the rings, a piercing alarm shattered the solemnity of the moment. Red lights flashed across the cathedral's crystalline surfaces, and panicked murmurs rippled through the crowd. Major Sarah Cox's voice cut through the chaos. Perimeter breach! All units, defensive positions! King Zorn rose, his towering form commanding instant attention. Remain calm, he urged the assembled dignitaries. Our security forces are well prepared for any eventuality. Jerry locked eyes with Altair, a silent understanding passing between them. Without a word, they moved in unison, positioning themselves between the threat and the gathered crowd. The cathedral doors burst open, revealing a group of Ithorian separatists. Their exoskeletons, painted with radical slogans, gleamed in the flashing lights. The leader, his mandibles clicking furiously, brandished a weapon unlike anything Jerry had seen before. This unholy union will not stand, the separatist leader bellowed, his words translated for the human attendees. Ithoria must remain pure. Jerry's combat training kicked in, his muscles tensing as he assessed the situation. Beside him, Altair's form shifted, her limbs arranging themselves into a defensive posture he recognized from their shared training sessions. As the Separatists charged forward, Jerry and Altair moved as one. Jerry's fist connected with the nearest attacker's exoskeleton, the reinforced knuckles of his modified wedding attire cracking the hardened surface. Simultaneously, Altair's lower limbs swept out, toppling two more assailants with lightning speed. The cathedral erupted into chaos as security forces clashed with the Separatists. Jerry and Altair fought back-to-back, their movements perfectly synchronized. Jerry's earth-honed combat skills complemented Altair's mastery of Ithorian martial arts, creating a deadly dance that left their attackers reeling. As they battled through the cathedral's ancient halls, Jerry caught glimpses of the holographic displays. Their fight was being broadcast in real time across the galaxy, billions of viewers watching as human and Ithorian fought side by side to defend their union. Altair's voice, calm despite the frenzy of combat, reached Jerry's ears. "The central spire, my love. We must protect the sacred crystals." Understanding dawned on Jerry. The spire housed crystals of immense cultural significance to the Ithorians. If the Separatists destroyed them, it could irreparably damage relations between their peoples. They fought their way towards the spire, Jerry's powerful strikes clearing a path, while Altair's agile movements kept attackers at bay. As they reached the base of the structure, they found themselves cornered by the Separatist leader and his remaining followers. "Your abomination of a union ends here," the leader snarled, raising his alien weapon. Jerry's mind raced, assessing their options. Then an idea struck him, a move they had practiced but never attempted in real combat. He caught Altair's eye and made a subtle gesture. Her mandibles clicked in understanding. In one fluid motion, Jerry crouched and launched Altair into the air. Her bioluminescent skin flared with brilliant intensity, momentarily blinding their attackers. Using the distraction, Jerry surged forward, his fist connecting with the Separatist leader's midsection. The alien weapon clattered to the ground as Jerry followed up with a series of swift strikes, incapacitating the leader. As Altair landed gracefully beside him, the remaining Separatists threw down their weapons, realizing their defeat. Security forces swarmed in, securing the area and apprehending the attackers. Breathing heavily, Jerry turned to Altair. Her wedding attire was torn and scuffed, much like his own, but her eyes shone with undiminished love and commitment. Without a word, they clasped hands, human fingers intertwining with alien digits, and made their way back to the altar. King Zorn, who had been ushering dignitaries to safety, returned to his position. His compound eyes gleamed with a mix of concern and pride. "Are you certain you wish to continue?" he asked, his voice carrying to all corners of the cathedral. Jerry and Altair exchanged a glance, their perseverance evident in their posture. "We do," they answered in unison, their voices echoing through the now silent cathedral. As they resumed their positions, Jerry noticed the state of their wedding attire, battle-worn and disheveled. Yet as he looked at Altair, he had never seen her more beautiful. The signs of their shared struggle only emphasized the strength of their bond. King Zorn's voice, filled with newfound reverence, addressed the assembled crowd and the billions watching across the stars. "We have witnessed today not just a union of two individuals, but a testament to the strength found in our diversity. Jerry and Altair have shown us that together we are stronger than any force that would seek to divide us." As the king continued the ceremony, Jerry felt a profound shift in the atmosphere. The fear and tension that had gripped the cathedral mere moments ago had transformed into something deeper, a shared sense of awe and commitment. When the time came to exchange rings, Jerry's hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the overwhelming emotions coursing through him. As he slipped the ring onto Altair's finger, he marveled at how natural it felt, despite the alien contours of her hand. "With this ring," Jerry spoke, his voice carrying clearly through the cathedral, "I pledge my life to you, to our peoples, and to the future we will build together." Altair's response came in a melody of clicks and trills, her bioluminescence pulsing with each word. The translation echoed for all to hear. With this ring, I bind my fate to yours, in the hope that our love will light the way for generations to come. As King Zorn pronounced them united, a cheer erupted from the gathered crowd, echoed by millions watching across both worlds. Jerry and Altair sealed their union with a kiss, bridging the gap between their physiologically different species in a powerful display of love and commitment. The applause that followed was deafening, a cacophony of human voices and Ithorian trills blending into a symphony of joy and hope. As Jerry and Altair turned to face the crowd, hand in hand, Jerry caught sight of General Steele. The usually stoic man had tears in his eyes, his expression one of unbridled pride. Ambassador Reyes approached, her face beaming. "Congratulations," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "What you've done here today, it's more than we could have ever hoped for. You've given us all a glimpse of what's possible when we come together." As the newly wedded couple made their way down the aisle, Jerry noticed the changes in the faces around them. Humans and Ithorians alike looked at them with a new understanding, as if seeing for the first time the true potential of their alliance. Outside the cathedral, the streets of the Ithorian capital were filled with celebrating citizens of both worlds. Holographic displays showed similar scenes unfolding on Earth, with people of all nations coming together to rejoice in this historic moment. Jerry and Altair paused at the cathedral's entrance, taking in the sea of faces before them. As they prepared to step into their new life together, Jerry felt a surge of hope for the future, a future that held challenges, certainly, but also immense possibilities. With a shared glance of love and purpose, Jerry and Altair took their first steps as a married couple, ready to face whatever the universe had in store for them, together.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.